Hi there. We're back to talk about our CGI principled idea. This is video number 4 of your class for October 21st, 2020. So today, as we work through the material, we're going to be thinking about how the details of children's thinking support instructional decision making. Specifically, how do they support us as educators in determining who and which strategy will be shared. So let's take a look at the problem-solving cycle. We have talked about the problem type framework. And as we move into your lesson plan assignment next week, you're going to want to be familiar with these, particularly the joining and separating problems, because you'll be using this framework to help generate some problems for your lesson plan. So we have all these different types of problems. We will begin grouping problems next week, so don't worry about those at this point. And these problems are administered in a particular way. Usually, we either look at the standards or we look at student work, and they can both be done at the same time. We need to know what the standards are that we need to teach, and we also need to know how our students are understanding the concepts that we're discussing. Then we're going to design a task that's rigorous and meaningful, as well as authentic and fun. We will anticipate student thinking, and then we'll go ahead and unpack that lesson or that problem with our students. Remember, we're not going to tell them how to do it. We're just going to invite them to think about it and make sense. We will also offer them think time, time to turn and talk, make space for productive struggle, and remember that warning signs article. You're not going to be telling them what to do, picking up their pen, or redirecting them in a way that knocks them off their strategy path. We want to give them ample time to solve, and while they're doing that, we try to confer and monitor in the distance learning classroom. When we're face-to-face, we can do that really easily by looking over a student's shoulder, asking a question or two, and then moving on to the next student. But today, we're going to really be focusing on this final part of the problem-solving cycle, which is selecting the work that's going to be shared, sequencing that work in a particular order, and then sharing it. And the students are the ones that talk about the work, not you. Your work is in selecting and sequencing. Their work is in sharing. And remember, the students that are not sharing are actively listening to help bridge connections to their thinking. So remember the strategy progression, because this also informs our decision-making today. We learned that students use direct modeling, which is concrete representation for each object that must be counted. Rote counting, cardinality, and one-to-one correspondence often surface in this strategy. Counting strategy starts with one number and uses a concrete representation for the second number. This might be a representation like a tally mark. It could be a number. It could be a finger. Students who are able to engage in counting strategies have number conservation and understand that they can start counting at 28 without representing all those 28 items. Then we have invented algorithms. This is where students engage in more abstract thinking, and basically, the concrete representations are typically not seen in these strategies. But it's important to know that invented algorithms are abstractions of direct modeling strategies. So when we think of students direct modeling by ones, it might not be as evident. But when they start to direct model by tens, we start to see those invented algorithms surface as students start to represent their thinking numerically. Invented algorithms help students use what they know to figure out what they don't. And common ones that we've looked at are things like compensation, incrementing, and combining like units. It's also important to remember that those invented algorithms are never really discrete. Lots of times, students hybridize that invented algorithm and blend one or more types of thinking. So as we prepare for the share today, I want you to think about a couple of things. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you to read. This is a book called Intentional Talk. It's written by L.M. Kazemi and Allison Hintz, another magnificent professional text that I highly recommend you add to your library once you enter your practice as an educator. We're going to be reading chapter 2. It's pretty lengthy, so I'm going to give you 30 minutes to read it, including your break. Of course, you're not going to have to return at a particular time, but do know that I have flagged 5:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. as the time that I want everybody on the Google Deck to start working. As you do the reading, I want you to jot a couple of takeaways from the reading into your notebook. So I hope you enjoy the reading. I'll see you later.